1, 2, 3, 4, test. Welcome to the Unstarving Musician Podcast. I'm your host, Robonzo. If you're here for the first time, I talk about things related to the marketing, business, and creative aspects of music, sometimes with other independent musicians and music industry professionals. Sometimes it's just me, like today. My hope is to make your music journey a little easier and more profitable. How are you doing today? Where are you? What are you wearing? I want to ask you a small favor before we get going on today's episode, and that is, if you use Apple Music, look up my songs and press play. I get plays on Spotify and YouTube. Not a lot, but I get some. I don't try real hard to push the stuff. But Apple Music, nothing. And those vanity numbers, it's crushing. I don't even look at the emails anymore. I still get them, and I know what they say. No plays on Apple Music. But while I'm on the topic of Apple Music, and oh, by the way, if you're going to do that for me, to let me know you're listening to this, and you're trying to help me out with my whole vanity thing, I'll put links in the show notes, or you can search Apple Music for Robonzo on Top of the World, or the other song is New Gods Part 2. But on the same topic of Apple, I got an email from them, a press release kind of thing, I suppose, just a day ago. Yeah, just a day ago, that they've got this new thing where you can track radio spins of your music. So it says here, I'm going to read from their release, with data from more than 40,000 terrestrial and digital stations, you can now see which radio stations are playing your music in over 200 countries and regions. Plus, you can dive into the details of those radio spins on the Trends and Places page in Apple Music for Artists. That sounds kind of cool on the surface. I haven't looked into it, but if you didn't get that email, you know what? I'll just, you sign into your account, I think, to see more info about it. So I was going to say I'll send you a link for it, but I think you have to sign into your account. But it's intriguing. It is intriguing. I hope that you'll check it out. Maybe let me know what you think. So today, I'm going to dive into a topic that's crucial for independent musicians in the digital age, and that is YouTube royalty tracking and collection. And this episode is based on a recent edition of Liner Notes, my biweekly email newsletter for independent musicians. If you're not already subscribed, I'll tell you how you can sign up at the end of the episode. So I'm going to start with the YouTube royalty landscape. Music royalties on platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram Reels they're complex. For independent musicians and independent artists, it's really complex. But I'm going to focus on YouTube today. It's worth noting, however, that when I first wrote about the topic in April of this year, I understood that Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram Reels were still catching up in terms of paying music royalties. I started looking into what's happening now, just, a couple months later, 3 months later-ish, and see that Facebook does, in fact, have a system in place for monetizing your music. I've gathered also that it pays less, looks like significantly less than Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube, if that doesn't discourage you enough. But I stopped there. So furthermore, I assume that both TikTok and Instagram have programs in place as well that also pay less than the aforementioned streaming services, but that's assume being the operative word. So it's certain that these ecosystems have their own complexity, so I'm going to stick to YouTube for this episode, just like I did in the Liner Notes newsletter I mentioned. But maybe I'll cover Facebook, Instagram, and or TikTok in future episodes. Maybe. You can let me know if you're interested in that. It is important to stay informed about developments on these platforms, all of them, so that you can maximize your earnings potentials. So that's kind of why I just mentioned them. So YouTube pays out 55% of ad revenue generated by music. And this amount is split between master, composition, and performance rights. So let's break down the types of royalties you can earn on YouTube. So 1, there's performance royalties. 2, there's mechanical royalties. 3, content ID revenue, which I'll talk about. And 4, sound recording owner royalties. Sound recording owner royalties. Sound recording owner royalties. That just doesn't roll off the tongue. So each type of royalty is collected and paid through different entities, which we'll discuss later. So here's some YouTube monetization basics that I hope will help. To be eligible for YouTube's monetization program, known as the YouTube Partner Program, creators need to meet certain requirements. So you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 public watch hours in the past 12 months. Once you're in the program, you can earn from various revenue streams, including ad revenue, channel subscriptions, and super chat purchases during live streams. Now, it's important to understand that, and before I go further, I should have said this at the top, but I'll say it now. So if you're just kind of getting into YouTube or don't know much about this part of YouTube, this episode's for you. If you've been on YouTube for a while, I still think there's going to be some stuff in here for you, so stay with me. So yes, it is important to understand that YouTube and YouTube Music are separate. I happen to be a YouTube Music or a YouTube Premium subscriber and thus get YouTube Music, which is great, by the way. But they are related platforms. YouTube Music is dedicated to music streaming service, while the regular YouTube, as you know, is where content creators upload videos and can monetize through ads and other features. Okay, so yeah, just keep that in mind. So let's talk about Content ID. A key component of YouTube's royalty system is Content ID. This is an automated copyright management system that scans videos for copyrighted content and can be monetized on behalf of the owner, that's you. So here's how it works. Rights holders submit their content to YouTube's Content ID database, and YouTube scans uploaded videos against this database. And if a match is found, the system applies the policy set by the rights owner, which is monetize, track, or block. So Content ID is crucial for protecting your intellectual property and ensuring you're compensated when others use your music in their videos. Before I go on, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about my latest big project, Podcast Startup. I officially launched the beta version of Podcast Startup. So if you need a little help with a podcast you're contemplating, this would be for you. So it's designed for new podcasters because most podcasts don't make it past their first few episodes, and that is because sustaining a podcast is not easy. So lack of planning and misaligned expectations are a recipe for fast fade out where it comes to podcasting. So if you want to start a podcast and start the right way, go to unstarvingmusician.com/podcast startup to reserve a seat in Podcast Startup and get a limited time offer on the course. If you're not ready for the course, you can sign up to receive a free Podcast Startup tip sheet. So just go there to unstarvingmusician.com/podcast startup. So moving on. Now let's talk about how to actually collect these royalties. Performance royalties are typically collected through performing rights organizations or PROs like ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, which you hopefully know and are registered with. Mechanical royalties require a publishing administrator. So PROs alone aren't sufficient for collecting all publishing royalties from YouTube. Now then, Content ID revenue can be collected through AdSense or third-party services. And sound recording royalties often go through your distributor. All right? So independent artists need to opt in to monetize their sound recordings and use a publishing administrator to collect publishing royalties from YouTube's backend. In terms of maximizing your earnings on YouTube, you need to create engaging content that keeps viewers watching, obviously. You must optimize your metadata, so use relevant titles, descriptions, and tags in your videos, and metadata is super important in your music too. And that's what we're really talking about here. You also want to promote your music across various platforms to drive traffic to your YouTube channel and utilize tools like YouTube Analytics and content management system to track performance and manage your content. Remember that building a strong presence on YouTube can lead to more views, subscribers, and ultimately increased revenue. All right, let's talk about some common misconceptions. So one of them is all views generate equal revenue. In reality, revenue depends on factors like ad type, viewer location, and engagement, okay? Another misconception is you need millions of views to make money. So niche content can be profitable with fewer but more engaged viewers. And a third popular misconception is that Content ID automatically monetizes all your content. It needs to be set up and managed correctly to work effectively. And I'm going to give you some resources to dig deeper into all this stuff, because I would imagine that for some of you, you're just going, what is he talking about? So I'm going to give you a few things at the end of the episode here. Navigating YouTube royalties can seem daunting. I'm assuming that for some of you, everything I just said may fall in the daunting category, but understand the system is crucial for maximizing your earnings as an independent musician. So stay informed about policy changes as YouTube frequently updates its monetization policies. Understanding and managing your rights as a music artist is also important to ensure that you are fairly compensated for the use of your music on these platforms. And remember, while YouTube offers significant earning potential, it's just one part of a diverse income strategy for musicians. So you combine it with other platforms, live performances, and direct sales for a well-balanced approach. All right. If you found this episode helpful, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or at unstarvingmusician.com/feedback, because your feedback helps other musicians find and benefit from the podcast. Your reviews help too. And don't forget to check out the show notes, because I'm going to provide a recommended reading list and a free companion download to summarize today's topic. So there will be links in the show notes for that. Lastly, if you want to stay up to date with insights like these, sign up for my liner notes newsletter at unstarvingmusician.com. It's free, it's bi-weekly, and it's packed with valuable information for independent musicians and music industry professionals. And if you do not yet have a website for your music, please check out Bandzoogle. It was created to help musicians and bands build their website and manage direct-to-fan marketing and sales. Bandzoogle has amazing design options, a commission-free store to sell music, merch, tickets, and more, plus tools that can capture detailed fan data for you. So try it out for free at bandzoogle.com. You can use the promo code ROBONZO, that's ROBONZO, to get 15% off of your first year. If you love this podcast, please visit unstarvingmusician.com/crowd sponsor to learn about the many ways of showing your love and support, one of which is through our tip jar there. So, click tip done. Your support equals love. The series music you heard in this episode is the instrumental version of New Gods Part 2 by yours truly. You can find links for all the places to hear the full version that includes vocals by yours truly at robonzo.com. And as I said at the top of the episode, on Apple Music. And I hope you'll go play it there. Thank you for listening to The Unstarving Musician. I really appreciate it. And until next time, keep making music, keep learning, and keep earning from your music. Peace, love, and a whole lot of gratitude.